Instead of using the gun itself as the pattern piece, I'm going to make up molds off the gun and cast those pieces in resin and use those pieces as my masters for the casting of the gun, so that when I come to do the sand casting, I can concentrate on getting more individual detail. So what I thought I'd show you here is a recipe that I've got for a homemade silicon putty. This is what I'm going to be using for the mold in this instance. It doesn't produce as high a quality mold as the paint-on type silicon, but it does allow me to work quite quickly and produces a mold that's more than suitable. The recipe for this is pretty easy. It's just regular corn flour or cornstarch and a cheap variety of silicon. You'll know if you're using the right type of silicon because it has that vinegary type of smell. You want to do it so that it's about a 1-to-1 mix. Now the trick to mixing this is to not actually knead it like dough. Make sure that the gloves you're wearing are constantly kept powdered with the corn flour, and fold the silicon over constantly. Keep doing those folds until it starts to get sticky, then powder it again and just keep on repeating that process until the flakiness of it is gone, until it becomes a very soft dough-like consistency. When it's at that stage, you can then roll it into a ball. Then again, you want to dust the surface of it to make sure it's not sticky. Brush or blow that dust off, and then you can apply it to the surface of whatever it is you're moulding. So now that the parts have come out of the silicon molds, you can sort of see how I'm going to use them for the patterns for the sand casting. I've just given them a light dusting with some graphite powder at the moment, so you can see a little bit better where the details have been picked up. This is the same white resin stuff that the Terminator pattern pieces were made from as well. So I've started breaking it up into individual pieces so that I can push the level of detail that I can get out of it. So having them in separate pieces like that means that I should have a greater degree of control. I used that same silicon putty idea to make up some smaller pieces that I've been able to press the detail pieces into, and that's something that I'll be able to reattach to appropriate places when the assembly continues a bit further. So now that I've got those parts sorted out, I'm going to move over to how the mounting piece works. Been able to isolate a picture of the mount itself, and I'm just going to use this as a reference and use the plastic grips off the toy to sculpt up a new piece that matches the look we're going for. So super high technical sculpture here. What I've done is just cut out that piece of paper to make sure that the scale is pretty much correct. Now what I'm going to do is, using the original grip piece itself and the paper now as reference, I'm going to sculpt up some of the epoxy putty and just build off this and start seeing if I can get this shape about right, and then when it's set I can go back and get in the more accurate detail for what the underside should look like. The shape of this has a bit of a kick in it like that to allow for the slider to actually still move. In the one I'm making, the slider's not going to be moving, so it's not that much of an issue, but to just make sure that it's got the right sort of shape and right sort of clearance, I'm just going to add a little thin strip of wood and sit it there like that. I'll have another support piece under here so that when I lay that clay out, it's got somewhere to set, and that shape will kick in there a little bit better against that piece of wood there. That's still obviously very rough at this stage, but hopefully that's going to start giving me a basic shape that I can start to work off. So once that hardens, I can start adding in a little bit more detail and start grinding that out so that hopefully it looks more like the shape that I'm after. That's pretty much the update for this time, guys. Talk to you next time.